The main thing is to think of safety. If I'm going to hit James, I have to imagine that there's an imaginary bubble around him, so everything I do stops before I hit him. You never actually make contact with the person. It's very basic. We stick to the basic principle of 5s and 3s. Which is, a 3 is basically where you hit 3 parts of the body. So I'll do first half of 3. Okay, that's where you're hitting 3 parts of the body. Or you can do a head, shoulder, shoulder. Okay, that is a basic 3. A 5 is where you're hitting 5 parts of the body. So head, shoulder, and leg. When you're using the sword, it's almost flicking the blade, like you're flicking something off. Okay, but the main thing to concentrate on if you're doing stage combat is safety. I can't emphasise enough. These are blunt, but you can still cause somebody a very, very nasty injury. If you do want to, if you do want to do this in one of your productions, please ask us or make sure that you get hold of somebody who knows what they're doing. Okay? If James, if you just want to do 5 to me, blocking is the same. So blocking, you always use your sword with one edge pointing out. The reason for this is that edge gets burred, this edge is not. If you need to do, say I needed to do a throat slice on James, okay, it's going to be safe on my hand. I'm not going to hurt my hand. So you always, when you fight, you always keep one edge of your sword out. So if I show you again, 5. I'm turning the blade out, and the blocking is always here. We never wing block where you drop it, because it's dangerous and the sword can come in and hit your body. Okay? Now, I'll put the swords down. Sorry, I'm having to rush through this. We don't have much time. Punching and kicking is pretty much the same. Alright? Again, you're going to have scenes where people are being beaten up. And the thing is, it's the person who's being attacked that is the person that's got to sell it. So if I'm going to, he's got mail on. In reality, if I punch him, it's not going to hurt. If I punch James, he's going to react to it. But my punch, I'm pulling my punch. So if I do it, what I'm doing is I'm stopping on the contact and pulling it back. So if James, you punch me, it's the person who's being hit that's reacting. A punch to the shoulder, you give the person, to the head, you give them a signal first. So you place your hand on the person's shoulder. That's telling them, yeah, it's almost like they could struggle a bit. It's like, that's telling you, I'm going to punch him. He then looks at my fist. I hold my fist away so he can see it. And what I'm imagining is there's something sitting on his shoulder. Okay, so I'm going to punch what's on his shoulder. Okay, now depending on where the audience is sitting, on how that looks. If you turn your back to the audience, okay, and I'm going to do the punch again. See, it misses. Okay, but obviously, if I turned the way we go originally, it's quite hard. Hopefully, when I do it, it looks like he's actually being hit. Okay, so you've got to think of your angles of where you're doing your production. If you've got an audience all the way around you, you have to then think about what you're going to do. This isn't going to be ideal because a lot of people are going to see that. If you sell it quick enough, okay, so if you turn round, okay, people actually don't think, they think, oh, he's been hit. Same with the headbutt. Okay, I'll do that side. Same again. I don't headbutt him, I either headbutt my hand or I don't hit anything. Yeah? So again, it's the person that you're hitting who sells it. So everything you do, it's very theatrical, isn't it, stage combat? But it's also has to be very, very safe. And if you grab your sword again, James, hopefully we can remember this. I'm going to show you what it's supposed to look like when it's put together. Okay. You ready?
Yep.
You're not supposed to break weapons, but hopefully you've got an idea of exactly what it's going to look like. Now that was obviously from years of practice. We've been doing this a long, long time, and if you want to put something on quite as intense as that, obviously it's going to take a lot of practice. How long have I got? Have I got 5 minutes quickly before we get David on for a quick chat?
5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I'm a bit out of breath, it takes it out here. Also, with regards to effects, because as I've explained about the punching, the hitting, about how to make it look a very good effect for the puppet, if you're going to be using props, it's how to make props that are safe, but look really effective. If I've got my box of tricks that I use on these here I have, I just want to show you quickly. This, anyone's welcome to come and have a look, is a real flail. Okay, this is based on one that was actually found, and this is what it looks like. It's a very nasty thing, and these were either bone, iron, or lead, and it was designed to tear the skin off your back. Obviously, if you're putting on a production, you cannot use something like this, just in case somebody decides to get a bit carried away and the adrenaline's flowing and they start, coming up to somebody. So you've got to be obviously very, very careful. Don't try, if you're going to have something that's real, only have it so that people can look at it. Don't have it on the production, because adrenaline, we all know, we get on stage, the adrenaline flows and it's like, but if we have Ollie over here, who has the stage version of Mr. Mickey, as we call it, okay, this is the safe one. So Ollie's going to give me a right good thrashing. If he's, yeah.
What you imagine we're going to do this?
So he's going to hit me, but this is not going to. It's made of foam. These are foam balls. We dip them in blood so that when they actually hit, they produce a lovely big splat. Okay, you can dip them into some very runny blood and you'll get fantastic spray. You have to watch your audience. And also it looks very effective. You don't need to worry about having the effects put on first and then the person coming out and having to conceal it all. But if like this, because the sponge soaks up the blood, which is why this one's gone a bit stiff, yeah. And it's safe, okay, it doesn't hurt. You've got to be so careful with these things. I mean, I've got so many, if people want to come up and ask me, I've got all my props in the box, even down to the nails that were used when we did Spartacus. And some of the audience actually threw up. That's how realistic it was. And it's very realistic what we've done. And I can show you in the box what we do and how we do it and how it actually looks. And as I say, we had people, didn't we?
Yeah, almost looking like they were going to faint.
Yes, they were looking a bit peaky, should I say. But again, I have props with me. If anyone's interested in that, once David's done his little bit, please come and speak to me, and I'm more than happy to show you how they're made, how we do it, and how we do our effects. We've got photographs as well. Yeah. So if you want any help or anything, please do contact me. I can give out cards and stuff. I think David's going to come on now and do a quick talk, and then it's going to be a quick question and answer, I believe, for everybody. Is David around, Dolly?
He's back, yeah, he's just on the way.
Is he on his way? Right, okay. If you want to do a quick one now, I will wait for David to come down quite quickly. Has anyone got any questions that they'd like to ask about anything? Sorry? Show us what's in the pocket. I can do. So, here. Okay. Firstly, I have this is the stage crown of thorns. It's this one was made because you can actually wear it, James, and it won't stick in because I've done it so that the spikes stick upwards. So it's actually just made from barbecue skewers and ivy from my back garden. So I just got some ivy, wrapped it around, and just put some barbecue skewers on it. And again, it's perfectly safe. Yes.
Well. Sorry if I missed the beginning, but what role did girls play in the Roman army?
In the Roman army, none whatsoever.
Oh, really?
Women were not allowed to have anything to do with the Roman army whatsoever. So you could not be a member of the Roman army. There's a possibility that they had cavalry that were women, wasn't there? But remote possibility. But they would have been camp followers. They would have been the wives of the soldiers, basically.
So what would your role be? What you played?
What, in the actual Roman group?
Yeah.
I do the gladiators. I'm a gladiatrix because females actually did fight in Roman times as gladiators.
But not against each other rather than
No, if I fought the Roman army, I would be one of their enemies, so a Celt or something like that, yeah. I think David is ready now to come on. Mark can go through the rest of the
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm David Richardson, aka Marcus Aurelius Britannicus, from the Second Augusta Roman Living History Society, which has already probably been explained to you. I've come along today to let you have a closer look at the kit and equipment for a Roman soldier of the period of the time of Christ, because I think it relates quite significantly to what a lot of you are trying to do in the costume field. Now, when looking at my kit and equipment, sorry to say, it's highly unlikely, it's improbable that the Roman soldiers stationed in Palestine at the time were dressed like I am. They were auxiliary units. My kit and equipment is for a Roman legionary of the period, and there was a distinct difference between the two. Yes, there was a legion based in Palestine, but it wasn't used in the way that I'm about to tell you. Sorry. I'm wearing a lorica segmentatus, segments of metal held together inside with leather and rivets. The earliest datable period for this type of armour is 9 AD. Pieces of it have fairly recently been discovered in Syria. But the units that were based in Palestine at the time of the crucifixion of Christ were auxiliaries. Now, the difference between the two, a Roman legionary was in fact a Roman citizen by birth. The auxiliaries were recruited from the provinces. Their reward for 25 years' service in the army was a grant of Roman citizenship. Now, they wore chain shirts, and also the legionaries wore chain shirts as well. But the vast majority of the men out there at the time of the crucifixion would have been wearing this type of armour. Not such a beautiful helmet as this. These are imperial Gallic helmets worn primarily by the legions. The auxiliary helmets were much plainer, and to a Roman, what we call brass today was in fact bronze to a Roman. So a much plainer, simpler helmet, even to the shield. The shields that we carry are based on a find at Caerleon in South Wales, the Second Augustus base. The auxiliary shields, from reliefs and from what we know, were in fact oval rather than the scutum style shape that you see here today. Even the pilum that the man is carrying, this is a legionary weapon. Auxiliaries had spears, and that of course fits to the stabbing of Christ on the cross with the man's spear. So the kit and equipment, I'm sure you'll find various ways to actually manufacture it. There's a distinct difference in cost, of course. A legionary, as I'm dressed, or as my colleague is dressed, would cost anything from £1,500 to £2,000 per man. The Calais guy, if we start at the bottom, the boots he's wearing, £160 a pair, handmade, but they're to his size. There is a company called Armamentaria, and I'll hand some cards out later if you want if you want to check up on any of this. They import a lot of military equipment from India. Well, please don't, if you can possibly avoid it, don't buy the vast majority of Indian imports. They look very nice until you actually try to wear them. Indian leather is terrible. I've seen brand new lorica like this come out of its wrappings, go straight on a soldier on a film set, and already the leather inside is ripping and falling apart. The Roman sandals that they produce, again, is that same very, very poor leather at a very nice price, one size sort of fits all. The Asian suppliers do have a tendency to believe that all Europeans have feet the size of sea-going barges. So you cannot trust any of their sizes. Always reduce down by at least 1 or 2 sizes if you do go down that route. I'm thinking more of you getting a good wear out of this equipment. If you do it too cheaply, you'll buy twice or 3 times. If you possibly can, invest in good quality equipment, and you'll be able to use it over and over again. As for chain shirts, and we've heard it today, and had a chat to a very nice lady here. She said about the chain mail, they're either chain or they're mail. There is no such thing as chain mail. You're saying the same thing twice. Chain or mail. There's 2 names for the same thing. But a shirt, an unriveted shirt like this, £200, £250 man. If you go for the riveted chain, and it is one thing that the Indians are producing quite well, you're looking at £400 to £500, as you are for a lorica. £450 to £500 made to fit the person, because all of this equipment is horrendous if it doesn't fit you properly. And we know that the actual Romans issued it in small, medium and large, and then actually adjusted it to fit themselves. Please don't go for red tunics, as Hollywood would have us believe. The evidence we have to date is for undyed material for ordinary soldiers, both auxiliaries and legionaries. Yes, they did use colour occasionally. We know, for example, that the Roman Navy wore tunica the colour of the sea. But to a Roman 2,000 years ago, that was actually green and not blue. The Romans saw you'll see that on wall paintings all over the place. They paint the sea green, not blue. So swords, belts, just to give you an example, each belt plate I'm wearing is anything from 12 to 15 pounds each, and then you have to assemble it. India is producing these, but they're terrible. So if I can help in any way with anybody on directing you for costume, please give me a call. Yes.
Nick, if someone's going to do a city play, to get 10, 20 of you guys to come and help, what does one do? Give us costing, logistics,
Right. As a Living History Society, we've been in existence for 35 years now, and we do shows at museums, theme parks like the archaeological one in Holland that we go to. We're going to Belgium next year. As a group, sadly, although it's a hobby for us, it's expensive. We have to have liability insurance. We've got to pay tax, insurance, MOT and tyres on our vehicle, a lorry that we run with a huge trailer to get all of our stuff to and from sites. Yes, we can appear for you, and I know and we have discussed that what you do is voluntary, and we can supply the manpower by all means on that basis. But if we were to come along, if we can, because we do tend to get booked up almost a year in advance, then it's the fuel costs that we would really be looking at to get us to wherever you require us. So if you just work it out on a fuel cost, because that was our agreement that you are a free organisation for doing the events that you're doing.
So on Easter Day, would you be able to get 20 people up to a city?
Not 20. You're looking for a reasonable turnout, a maximum, because we are also a volunteer non-profit making group. Look to 12. That is a maximum number, and that's a good turnout. 14, yes, we can push to 14 probably, but we have lots of friends in other groups as well who will come along and help us. Yes? Right, Roman tunics was a simple tube, and they're made much bigger. If I take the lorica off, the actual tunica, I'll untie it around my waist, and it will drop down below my knees, right down here. All of that classical imagery, this is a lady's tunica.
So it's the same idea, and they're actually just pulled right up, but it's literally just a square material with holes at the top. That's the basic.
The classical imagery that you see with all the folds is achieved simply by its overall size. They're bigger than they look. Any questions at all? Oh, and crucifixion. I've had lots of questions about the actual crucifixion itself. When crucifying, from all the evidence we have, and there has been discovered by the archaeologists the skeletal remains of a man who was crucified in Palestine. He was crucified by putting the nails through his wrists, not through his hands. And you have, to do it properly, you have to have a little square of wood with a hole in it. The nail goes through the square of wood first, then through the wrist, then to the cross. And when it comes to the feet, the man had actually been pinned by his heels, not through his feet. And he was very much in that shape when they crucified him. There may have been other methods, but if you're going to use history and the actual archaeological evidence, that's the only crucified person that they've found to date to point to.
Not the chicken going on the outside, but what's the plume mean?
Right, the plumes are interesting in as much as, unless you were in a parade or it was a very special occasion, it's highly unlikely you would see the plume.
Yeah.
They were very, very flimsily attached to the helmet. Some cavalry helmets have a plume box holder on them that are fixed to the helmet. But so far, none of the legionary ones are. And they simply untie and come off. If I can get it off, there we go. That's how Roman soldiers would have worn their helmets almost all the time, particularly in battle. That's an encumberment on the top of your head. It can be caught with a sword or a spear, and your helmet will be tossed all over the place. And when they do come half unstuck, they just flop down on the side. So that's how you would normally see Roman soldiers. And it's the same with the shields. We see in films and television all these wonderful shields like this, but in fact they were never exposed until they were required. And it was to do with the manufacture of them. A Roman shield was made of very thin strips of wood glued together. It was then covered in leather, covered in cloth, and the embellishments on the front for many years we thought were painted on shields. But the up-to-date evidence gives us that they are actually pieces of metal attached to the shield. The Romans had fantastic glue, except for one thing: it wasn't waterproof. And if the shields became extremely wet for any period of time, it actually used to affect the glue. So they were kept in these waterproof leather bags until they were needed. So all the time Roman soldiers are marching around all over the place, their shields were in leather bags. Before a battle, the leather bags came off. And that's where you see the beautiful designs on them.
One more question. If we went back to the rain, is that going to rust?
Oh, yes. They were made of iron, the actual lorica, and our closest to that is mild steel. And it has very much the same qualities as what they used. And we know for a fact that olive oil was used for, it has many uses. It was used for cooking, oil lamps, it was used as a contraceptive, it has a natural spermicide in it. The people today, the scientists have come up with that, and it was used for protecting metal. So they would have obviously rubbed it with olive oil. And they tended to tin or silver almost everything. Even whole helmets have been found covered in silver sheet to cover the iron. But the loricas have never been found with anything on them. And as I say, what we call brass today, the Romans actually called bronze.
Thank you.
Okay, but I'll hand some cards out afterwards. Please contact me and I'll be able to pleased to help.
Do they play in colours in the end?
Again, we don't know. The problem with Roman statuary, which is one of the main sources of evidence, is that all the colour's gone off of them. All these beautiful white statues that you see were actually painted like you would paint a toy soldier for wargaming. And the colour's gone. And we can't really tell. what the colours were that used. We know of one colour from the written record. Hadrian, when he was watching a cavalry demonstration, actually wrote that his soldiers looked absolutely splendid with their yellow plumes streaming behind them. So we know they used the colour yellow. But other than that, we've got no evidence for it at all. It's a guess. And Hollywood very often steers us completely down the wrong street. The Kirk Douglas film Spartacus, for instance. My father took me to see that when I was very young. Brilliant film. All of the equipment in that film is 200 years out of date.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, just to say that they come here out of the kindness of their heart, volunteer their free time to give up their Saturdays to come and do this demonstration for you. Please take their details, because if you are putting a passion play on, then you have to book them a year in advance.
Yeah, we do.
Are we going to see you march a little bit here before you march out?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So we've got to go to the home next door. So the plan of action is we're all going to go walk outside with them, and they're going to lead a procession, followed by the cars. Then we're going to see, we're going to bless an OAP home, is that right? For 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and then we're going to walk down to the other church.
Yes, you are.
The other church, and then do a quick with a cast, yes.
Oh, gosh, I don't know if I'll do that.
And then you're going to do a demonstration.
Do we know where we're going to your
Yeah, we'll would you like to see one in here for, well, I have to say, no drill book has survived for 2,000 years. The orders that all of the groups who recreate, as we do, are speculative. I'll just hand this over and I'll give you a very short demonstration. James, yes. No drill book has survived for 2,000 years. So the orders that you always hear will always be speculative. Yeah, grab a shield. Roman legionaries, the secret of the Roman army was organisation and discipline. They were no braver or stronger than the peoples they fought against. The secret was simply that they fought as organised units, whereas most of the tribal peoples they fought against actually were fighting as individuals, machismo, wanting to be the first into battle, even pushing people out of the way to get there first. While the Romans were also taught to fight in absolute silence. They were taught to stand. And the drill manoeuvres must have been something, we guess, from what little we know. If you call milites,
Intentat! Scuta! Sumi! Tare! Adextrumos disponite! Rostigi! Tare! Scuta! Deponite! Laxa! Tare! Otielsi!
and they went through this from day one. When you joined the Roman army, you actually went through a selection board and you took a letter of reference along to the equivalent of a modern day recruiting office. If you passed that part of the initiation, you then went along to see the Roman legion's doctor. They gave you a medical examination and then following that 4 months basic training. The 4 months was called probatio, which of course is where we get the modern word probation from. So you were literally on probation for 4 months while you trained to become a soldier. The iron discipline of the legions was instilled into you. Legionaries trained, we're told, from sunrise until sunset every single day.